So I'm going to present to you Mr. Jay Williams, who is an ESPN analyst and is now working with Vision Credit Union.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time today. I know that all you guys have had a busy day with classes and things of sort. First off, I wanted to say thank you to Eric for the great introduction. Thank you to Visions for letting me be here. Thank you guys for welcoming me. It really means a lot. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm a kid from Plainfield, New Jersey. It's about maybe 15 minutes outside Newark, New Jersey. Every day when I went to school, I had to go through a metal detector in order to go to school. There were a bunch of gangs. It was all that. And one of the things, my mom worked as a guidance counselor for over 20 years. She worked at the same high school. And growing up, I grew up in an area where there were always people hanging on the corner. There were always gunshots. There were always gangs. And there was always an affiliation between all that stuff and sports. I love school, right? School was funny for me because I meet a lot of kids when I go around and I talk, kids who don't listen. And that's fine. Look, I get it. For a little bit of my life, I was a kid. I didn't listen at some of these talks or when you're at a symposium. I was always a kid fooling around with my phone, or my friends were fooling around, or guys in sports were making fun of the guy speaking, whatever it was. But there was one person in particular that really caught my attention when I was younger. Now, you guys may be a little bit too young to remember this, but who in here can remember a player by the name of Isaiah Thomas? Okay, so Zeke, right? He played for the Detroit Pistons. He's probably one of the greatest players of all time. So Isaiah Thomas came to our school and he got a chance to speak. And I loved the Detroit Pistons. I was always a kid, I was too small, but I was dying to be an NBA player. And Isaiah Thomas started talking about the business of sports. The business of sports. Now, who in here wants to be a millionaire? If you want to be a millionaire, raise your hand. Oh, that's nice. All right, so that's about 99% of you guys. So let me ask a follow-up question, the same question Isaiah Thomas asked us. Who in here is preparing to be a millionaire? Okay, great. So now I'm going to start calling people out. This is great stuff. So I'm curious to hear from you guys how you prepare to be a millionaire. So my man with the book, taking down notes, I like that. You raise your hand, right? What's your name?
Johnny Torres, sir.
Johnny Torres. You don't have to call me sir. I'm not that old yet. We're almost there. Johnny Torres, you want to be a millionaire. How are you preparing to be a millionaire?
Well, right now I'm trying to get everything on track academically speaking so that I can improve my record as an academic. Besides that, I'm trying to gain as many skills as I possibly can. Right now I'm actually doing taxes.
Okay, so he's getting everything on track academically, making sure he has all stuff in line. Okay, who else here is trying to be a millionaire? Raise your hand. See, now nobody wants to raise their hand because you know I'm going to call on you. Interesting. Right, so Isaiah asked the same question to me, and nobody really raised their hand because nobody knew how they were preparing to actually be a millionaire. So I'll come back to my story in a second about Isaiah Thomas. I was a kid who was always told that he wasn't good enough to play basketball, right? But every single day since I had that conversation, I took school completely differently. I took it completely differently. I started paying attention in my math class. You know why? Because if I wanted to be a millionaire, I had to be good with numbers. Right? I had to think about things about subtraction, addition, division, whatever it might be, because now all of a sudden I'm thinking about that's my bank account. Now all of a sudden I'm thinking about, hey, how can I build something that has longevity? What I mean by that, right? A lot of you guys, people want to be instant millionaires, right? And when all of a sudden you get a lump sum of money, you start spending it. You hear the story all the time about athletes, right? Guys who have made over hundreds of millions of dollars who end up going bankrupt because they're taking care of their whole crew or they're spending money frivolously. Right? So I have my parents, my mom and dad, thankful they're there, do really good in basketball. All of a sudden I go to a camp called the ABCD basketball camp, which is in Jersey. I'm playing against one of these top kids. On the sideline, I see the likes of Coach K, right, at Duke University, Roy Williams, who was at Kansas, Tubby Smith, who was at Kentucky. And I play extremely well. I get a letter from one of these coaches like, hey, I'm going to take a chance on you. I want you to come to a school like Duke. Great. I go to a school like Duke. I go there my freshman year. I'm on the basketball team. Things are going pretty well. I'm averaging around 8 points per game, but I'm still not there yet. Nobody is talking about me as one of the top players, right? So I go through a rocky freshman year at school at Duke. Now, the difference between me and some other people is that I'm a workaholic. What do I mean by that? So not only am I a workaholic, I am one of the most competitive people you meet, not just in sports, but more importantly, off the court. I'm always a person that if we're in class and I get an A on a test and I see that you got an A plus, guess what? Next test, I'll be sure I'm gonna get an A plus. I'll be sure I'm gonna try to do one thing better than you. I'll be sure I'll stay after class and ask the teacher for extra help because I wanna make sure that I am the best at every single thing I do. So going into my sophomore year of college, okay, when everybody else went home and they were hanging out with their friends, back on the corner, doing whatever you might do, I stayed at school. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna overload on summer courses and I'm gonna work out every single day. So I made 500 shots a day on the basketball court. I made 500 shots a day on the basketball court, and I went to school. I came back my sophomore year, all of a sudden, I averaged 24 points per game. My sophomore year, I'm dropping 38 points against teams like Kentucky, I'm playing on national TV, and guess what, we win a national title that year. Now, that year I played with some pretty good basketball players, all right? But my sophomore year, we won the championship. I'm in my apartment back in college. A lot of people are talking about me potentially being the first pick taken in the NBA draft, right? For sure, I think I'm about to go. I'm like, you know what? I've been waiting my whole life to achieve this dream. I don't know how I played out of my mind this year. I don't know how I averaged 24 points. I have no idea how we won a national championship. I have no idea how I won National Player of the Year. But you know what? I am finally here. I'm about to go into the draft. So Coach K gives me a call, and he's like, hey, I just want you to think about the pros and the cons of leaving school and staying in school. So, like any other kid at 19 at the time, you have millions of dollars waiting for you. Sure, coach, I'll think whatever you think about. Trust me, I'll call you back. We're gonna go through it. So, I'm faced with these pros and cons of leaving school, okay? I just wrote a book about this. Some of the pros. If I'm the first pick in the draft, I make a lot of money, okay? Second pick in the draft, I make a lot of money. I get a chance to take care of my parents. Now, I watched my mom work 2 jobs her entire life. I watched my dad work 2 to 3 jobs his entire life, okay? We came from a pretty bad area. I get a chance to take care of my family, buy my mom jackets, buy my mom a house, buy my mom a car, take care of my dad, start a business, do all the things that you dreamed of doing since I was a little boy, and you see these guys play professional basketball. Or I could stay in school. Now, one of the best conversations I had with my coach at that time, where he said, hey, look, you have a chance to go out there and make a lot of money. But one of the things I want you to think about, can you handle your money and are you ready to take the next step business-wise? What do you mean by that, Coach K? Well, Jason, you know if you come out and you're the first pick in the draft in your 4-year stint, right, which is your contract, your 4-year contract with the NBA, you can make $15 million. What do you plan to do with that $15 million? I don't know. Save it, right? Think about the only quick answer, right? Invest it maybe? I don't know. He's like, invest it in what? What are you going to invest it in? Now, here comes the preparation part. Once again, everybody wants to be a millionaire, but how are you preparing for when that time comes in your life, right? Are you disciplined enough to do your homework and do your due diligence so when that time comes, you're ready for it? I've never spoken about stuff like investing or anything like that, right? So I don't know, Coach. He's like, well, how much money do you want to make one day, Jay? I don't know, Coach. He's like, give me a number, any arbitrary number. 30 million, 40 million? I don't know, Coach. I mean, I would love to, I don't know, 60 million? Why only 60 million? Now, you go to a school like Duke, how are you preparing to make a lot more than 60 million? I'll give you one example, Jay. He said, everybody that you meet wants to do what you do. Everybody that you meet wants to play basketball, right? They want to play basketball for Duke. All these different CEOs of all these different companies, they want to do that. You want to do what they do. Why don't you start sending letters out to people and invite them to games and start asking them to be on your board? Well, what do you mean a board, Coach? Well, every company has a board, right? The school district has a board. What is a board? A board is 5 or how many, the number of people, all right, that help the CEO or the leader of the organization brainstorm on how to make the company better, right? So are you looking at yourself as a company, right? So everybody in here is their own company. Who's on your board? That's a great question for all of you. Who's on your board? On your board, do you have, because before I changed my board, I had 2 guys that stood on the corner every single day and they were selling cocaine. They were on my board. They were the 2 people when I was younger that were trying to give me guidance and tell me, hey, you got to come out, you got to do things like that. My board changed when I got to college, and all of a sudden, it's like, no, okay, like I'm going to make this successful CEO somebody I look up to. I'm going to make this teacher somebody that I've known for years who's really set the right example and can help me think through things. My board changed, okay? And those people started working with me every single day. This is how you can be better at this. Have you thought about this? They opened up my brain to things I never thought about, right? So Coach K, who's on your board? He's like, I dare you to be great. I dare you to be different. Of course you can go out, you can be the #1 pick taken in the draft, can make a lot of money, but are you going to have the right plan in place? The right plan in place where you can be successful for the rest of your life. Not just instant gratification, just not enough to buy your mom a new fur coat, or just have the instantaneous wealth and then lose it all, but can you be successful for 50 years? Can you leave a legacy for your family and their family? All right? So all of a sudden I was like, wow, I never thought about that. I do want to be different. So I went home that night, I thought about making some changes, and I was like, you know what? Since I already had taken summer school, it's like, I'm going to be the first player to graduate Duke in 3 years, and I'm still going to be drafted the following year. So I made that decision on my own, went back to school, right? Did summer school that year, went back to school, and then had to finish up another summer school course the following year, and was the first Duke player to graduate school in 3 years. Right? So I had a major in sociology, my certificate in business, and I still got drafted 2nd overall the following year. Now, the NBA was a different scenario, okay? The NBA, I wasn't part of a family anymore. The NBA, the average age of my team when I played for Chicago Bulls was 22, 23 years old, and I got lost. You talk about that plan that I had set up to develop, I got lost. I started spending a little bit of my money, okay? I started hanging out with the wrong people again because I was lonely. And then guess what? One day at the end of my NBA career, after my first year in the NBA, I got a motorcycle. You know why? Because I was young, I was arrogant, and I thought I had the world in the palm of my hands. Now, I know you guys hear some of these stories and you think, how is this story applicable to me? You know, obviously, I don't know if I'll get a chance to play basketball in the NBA, but we've all been in situations before where one decision can change the outcome of your life. One decision can change the outcome of your life. So I got a bike because I was arrogant. And you know what? I wanted to do something in my free time just to have fun. Now I started riding along, never took a motorcycle riding class, never got my license because I felt like I didn't need to. Didn't have a helmet on, didn't have a protective jacket on either, right? Very arrogant at 21 years old. I'm running the stop sign. As I look, there's a truck coming from my right to my left. In order for the truck not to hit me, I had to speed up even more. So I pulled down on the throttle even more. So now I'm going 85, maybe 90 miles per hour. As I look down at the speedometer, the truck comes, it barely misses the back part of my tire. Now, think about that moment, right? We all have these moments where you make that dumb decision, and if you're lucky enough to get out of that dumb decision, it's easy to look back on it and say, wow, my life could have been different if A went wrong, or if B went wrong, or if C went wrong. So at that given time, right, I'm thinking about, oh my God, I'm about to get out of this whole thing. Like, I'm never gonna ride again. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna change my ways. I promise you, I'm not gonna be arrogant. I'm literally praying to God in my own mind as I see this truck barely miss the back tire of my wheel. As I'm speeding by and I'm saying that little prayer in my mind, when I look up, I'm going directly into a utility pole. I tried to turn the bike at the last second to the right, but I couldn't turn it quick enough. Smack into a utility pole going 90 miles per hour. Smack into a utility pole going 90 miles per hour. The first thing I started screaming out was that I threw it all away. I threw it all away. I threw it all away at the top of my lungs. Now, my agent happened to be there at the time because he was right around the same time we were having a meeting. He was in that area. And he came over to me and his mouth literally dropped to the floor as he called 911. I get gurneyed into a hospital room and I have surgery for 7.5 hours. I pass out. My life could have been done. I wake up a day later with 3 metal rods inserted into my bone on my left leg, holding my leg up in the air, hovering over me. I have 2 metal rods inserted into my pelvis because I had smashed my pelvis into over 10 different pieces. I went from being the 2nd pick taken in the draft to being the savior for a city like Chicago, to taking Michael Jordan's locker back in the locker room, to having a triple-double my rookie year, people talking about how great I was going to be, to seeing myself on a billboard, to all of a sudden maybe never being able to walk again. One dumb decision that changed the outcome of my life. Now, outcome of your life is all dependent upon perspective, right? As I'm in the hospital, right, angry at myself. I'm in the hospital for 3.5 to 4 months. Imagine that, 3.5 to 4 months in the hospital. I've had over 14 surgeries. They told me the chances of me walking again were slim to none. The chances of me being able to have a family one day, since I smashed my pelvis into 10 different pieces, was slim to none. And I had to fight through that for 3.5 years until I made it back on the basketball court. Now, I made it back on the basketball court, but at the same time, I couldn't play anymore. But I'll tell you the one thing that I was so thankful to have. I was thankful to have parents and people around me that taught me and helped me prepare for something bigger in my life, which was a plan. And I was thankful for having a guy like Isaiah Thomas, that one person that I listened to when I was younger, who started talking to me about the business of sports, helped me prepare. Now, I didn't get a chance to go and make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars like LeBron James or Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook or James Harden. But I got a chance to get my first 2 NBA paychecks, which I have turned dividends on because I had a plan in place. So one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, one of the great things about me working for a company like Visions is that there has to be a vision in place for all of you. So I'll give you a matter of perspective. There are a couple people that I've known, without saying names, that have made over $250 million in their careers. It's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. They're bankrupt today. Now, people say, how could they be bankrupt? They made $250 million. So I'll give you a prime example. It's called the Michael Jordan factor, okay? So say right now you're making $600 a week, okay? Who in here has a pair of Jordans on? Okay, great. My man in the back with the U sweater on. How much do Jordans cost? $150, $200. Okay, great. So I see this all the time, right? You make $600 a week. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna get myself a pair of Jordans. Easy, right? $200. You still got $300 left in the bank. So imagine that you do your job and you say, you know what? I can make $1,000 a week now. So I'm just telling you how it goes. It's very easy to lose track of how you spend your money, right? Oh, I make $1,000 now. So now all of a sudden you look at those Jordans, right? You're like, you know what? I can get myself 2 pairs of Jordans. I could treat myself today, right? I'm gonna get 2 pairs. I'm gonna get the new one that just came out. I'm gonna get the old school pair. So I'm gonna spend $500 on Jordans, all right? You get 2 pair now for $500. Now you save $500, but you keep living your life that way, it's easy to lose track of your money. So for all you guys, as you guys are going through work, right? It's about preparing for the long game. When I say long game, every single day, I know I got lucky and I was able to play, but I met a lot of people who didn't play professional sports who built wealth a lot bigger than mine. And one of the best lines I've heard is that we're all equal, right? We all have the same places. I used to be really angry when I was younger. I was like, you know what? I'm not as good as that person. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make as money as that person. And one of the best lines I heard was from a guy named Jimmy V, where he said, every single day, ordinary people do extraordinary things. Every single day, ordinary people do extraordinary things. One of my really good friends who owns a hedge fund now worked for minimum wage for 15 years of his life. 15 years of his life worked minimum wage from the time he was 18, okay? Every single day, you talk about discipline. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but you have to think of a plan, right? There's a great book that is out, and it talks about putting out into the world what you want to occur. So for all you guys in here want to do something great financially. Are you putting that out there to the world? Are you talking about what you're going to achieve? Are you talking about how you are going to achieve it? So that one friend who worked for minimum wage for 15 years kept stacking away money, kept stacking away money, kept stacking away money. Now, it wasn't a lot of money, but every single month he would put money to the side, until after 15 years, he had a good lump sum of money and he made the right investment and he flipped his money. And then he started to use that investment and bought a house, bought a property that wasn't doing too well, bought a house for a certain amount of money, used the rest of the money to kind of reboot the house, right? To revamp the house. He sold the house. He doubled his money again. He kept building to the point where today he has over $1 billion fund. He has $1 billion fund. A man who made minimum wage for 15 years has $1 billion fund. And when I talk to him, the thing he always says to me is, nobody gave it to me. Nobody gave it to me. Each and every day, when I saw my friends go to the club and spend $1,000 on a bottle of Ace of Spades because they wanted to flaunt, they wanted to have a good time, or I saw, my homegirls buy a pair of red bottom shoes because they finally saved up enough money to buy that one pair of shoes, while they were spending their money for the instant gratification, I was saving my money because I wanted to win and be successful in the end, in the long run. And now he looks back on those same people, and those are the same people who are still on the corner. I still have the same people in my life who are still on the corner from the day I was on the corner with them when I was 13 years old, still doing the same thing, complaining about how the system is punishing them. And I say, no, man, the system isn't punishing you. You're punishing yourself because there's no plan. There's no discipline. So for all you guys to get where you need to be, trust me, start with a plan. My life didn't work out the way I thought it was, okay? I thought I was lucky enough to get drafted. I thought I was gonna be like the next Derrick Rose before Derrick Rose happened. And I got hurt very badly in a motorcycle accident that I had to live with, okay? I went through years and years of depression, but I was lucky enough to have a board. I was lucky enough to have people around me who kept reminding me, you're better than this. This is where you need to go. This is how you need to get there. Now, some of you guys may be laughing. Some of you guys may be joking around right now while I'm talking. But you know what? The people who aren't joking around, the people who aren't laughing, the people who are actually listening to me, you will come back to this school in 20 years. I'm about to be 20 years out of high school. I graduated in 1999. And you know, when I go back to my school, I went back to my school for the 10-year reunion, and all those cool people who were in the auditorium laughing, not paying attention, joking around on their phone, going to sleep, they're still doing the same old thing. And they're saying, Jay, how'd you do it? I said, I know how I did it. And it wasn't by joking around. It was because I took my stuff seriously. Those same people are still in the corner doing the same thing. So my challenge to all of you guys is, I dare you all to be different. I dare all of you to be different. And I don't want any of you to use an excuse because, oh, I'm from this area, or I had a bad hand being dealt to me. Your hand is all about how you play it. Yeah, you can be dealt a crappy hand. I was dealt a crappy hand. I was dealt a dad who beat up my mom. I was dealt a mom who worked multiple jobs for me to go to a basketball camp when my dad didn't want me to go to a camp. And I finally made it. But you know what? I played my hand to the best of my ability, and I'm still playing it today. And I refuse to be a victim. I want all of you to have a vision. You know, you might joke around and say, oh, that kid's nerdy, whatever. But maybe if you all want to be a millionaire, maybe you should all start taking school a little bit more seriously. Because in the end game, those are the people who are doing things that you dreamed of doing, that you could achieve, if you actually just take what's right in front of your face today seriously. I thank all of you guys. I wish all you guys the best of luck. And remember, have a vision for the future. Thank you. Thank you.